Hello friends, welcome to our channel. In this tutorial, we will see our next task, that is listening to viewpoints. If you want to see all of our Celpip tutorials, then you can search on YouTube by writing Celpipster. You will find all the other tutorial series here. Now, in this series, we try to cover all the 4 sections. The exam includes listening, reading, speaking and writing sections. We will start with the listening part. Listening part is having 6 practice tests and 1 practice task as well. Total time allocated with the listening section is 50 minutes. Now, we will start with the listening to viewpoints. In this task, you will listen to an audio where a man and woman are discussing about recommended amount of sleep for school-going children. Please, keep one thing in mind: when you will give actual exam, you will listen to this audio only once. In this task, total 6 questions will be asked from you. Now listen to conversation very carefully, and then choose the most appropriate option given in the right-hand side of the computer screen, but keep one thing in mind: you will get options in the form of a drop-down, and you have to choose the correct option from the given drop-down. Now, please listen to the audio very carefully.
The recommended amount of sleep for 13 to 18-year-old is 8 to 10 hours per night, according to the Canadian Pediatric Society. Studies suggest more than half of Canadian teens get much less, about 6.5 to 7.5 hours per night, says Indu Naran, Director of Sleep Medicine at Ontario's Hospital for Sick Children. "We are in an epidemic of sleep deprivation," said Naran, who foresees cumulative effects that can have an impact on everything from health to work performance. In 20 years' time, we're going to see a whole generation of adults who are functioning suboptimally. Teenagers naturally function differently than adults when it comes to bedtimes. They don't run on the same inner clocks. In early adolescence and puberty, teens experience a shift in their 24-hour biological cycles, known as circadian rhythms. This means peak production of the sleep-inducing hormone melatonin happens later in the evening for teenagers, from roughly 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. Those hormonal changes have long turned many teens into night owls, but studies over the past few decades show the pervasiveness of sleeplessness is on the rise. Reasons vary, from late-night use of electronics and hectic after-school schedules to increased consumption of high-energy caffeine drinks. Some teens also have sleep disorders from being overweight. It's not uncommon for me to see teenagers in my clinic who are telling me that on school nights they go to bed at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. and get up at 7 a.m. to go to school, Naran says. They're struggling to get into school for the allocated time. They are sleeping in school. They find it hard to do their homework. When teens don't get enough things, the health dangers range from obesity and diabetes to depression and substance abuse. Naran says public health officials need to better understand the long-term consequences of sleep deprivation. What we don't want to do is miss the opportunity to intervene now, rather than have to intervene when they have cardiovascular disease, or metabolic disease, or strokes or, indeed, dementia.
Let's start with our first question, that is, this article is about. We have 4 options in the drop-down. Number 1, teenagers getting aggressive. Number 2, teenagers getting enough sleep. Number 3, teenagers getting less sleep. And number 4, teenagers using phones. We can listen very clearly in the audio that due to students' busy schedule, they are getting less sleep, so accordingly our third option is correct, that is teenagers getting less sleep. Our next second question is, according to the Canadian Pediatric Society, the average sleep recommended for teens are. We have 4 options in the drop-down. Number 1, 8 to 10 hours per night. Number 2, 7 to 8 hours per night. Number 3, 6 to 7 hours per night, and number 4, 5 hours per night? Answer to this question is very simple. According to the audio, our first option is correct, because the recommended amount of sleep for 13 to 18-year-old is 8 to 10 hours per night. So our first option is correct. Our next third question is, hormonal changes in some teens may lead to, we have 4 options. Number 1, sleeplessness. Number 2, aggressiveness. Number 3, obesity. And number 4, overeating. In the audio, we can listen very clearly that hormonal changes have long turned many teens into night owls, due to which the pervasiveness of sleeplessness is on the rise. So accordingly, our first option is correct. Our next fourth question is, due to less sleeping hours, students are, we have 4 options. Number 1, not able to concentrate on studies. Number 2, not able to sleep in the morning. Number 3, not able to reach school in time. And number 4, not able to make friends. According to the audio, our first option is correct, as we can listen very clearly that students sleep in the school time, due to which they are not able to concentrate on studies. So accordingly our first option is correct, that is not able to concentrate on studies. Our fifth question is, when teens don't get enough sleep, the health dangers range from obesity and diabetes to, we have 4 options. Number 1, depression and substance abuse. Number 2, depression and cancer. Number 3, depression and disturbed nature. And number 4, cancer and socially isolated. According to the audio, our first option is correct, as we can listen very clearly that when teens don't get enough sleep, the health dangers range from obesity and diabetes to depression and substance abuse. So accordingly, our first option is correct. Our last sixth question is, Dr. Narayan said that public health officials need to understand, we have 4 options. Number 1, the long-term consequences of sleep deprivation. Number 2, the consequences of obesity. Number 3, the consequences of depression. Number 4, the consequences of health. According to the audio, our first option is correct, as we can listen clearly that Dr. Narayan said that public health officials need to better understand the long-term consequences of sleep deprivation. So, accordingly, our first option is correct. So, friends, I think this tutorial will give you some idea about how to choose the right option in listening to Viewpoints task. Please register on Celpip to experience the real-time based practice platform. Link to join the platform is mentioned in the below descriptions. Don't forget to subscribe our channel before completing this video. Thanks for spending time with us.